Welcome or welcome back. My name's Joanne and today I have my first ever ranking video and I'm so excited. Sorry if you can see like lines or dots or anything. It's my blinds. I had to put them down because the sun is intense today. But anyways, from what you can probably tell from the title of this video, this is a palette ranking video, my first ever. I am going to be ranking all the palettes that I used in February. Oh boy. I feel like it wasn't super hard until I got down to my top two. It hurt my soul. Like, it really hurt my soul. I'm shocked at my decision. But without further ado, I'm just gonna get into all the palettes that I used in February. So I have 13. I have little sticky notes, and I'll probably put the number up in the corner somewhere on the screen. So I have 13 palettes to talk about. So my last palette, so my 13th palette, I'm gonna go from worst to best, just because I think that's fun. So at the bottom of the list is sadly my ColourPop High School Musical palette. This is what it looks like. Don't get me wrong, I love having this palette in my collection, but like, it's High School Musical. I watch the movies to this day, but I just find the quality to not be the best. I mean, it's not, it would be like a nice like everyday palette, but it doesn't really excite me all that much, if you know what I mean. So because it doesn't really excite me that much and the quality isn't the best, I decided to rank this in last place. I'm so sorry. I still love you. So number 12 goes to my ABH Subculture palette. And this is what it looks like. I got mine somewhat recently from TJ Maxx, I believe. So the reason why this one's a little higher than the ColourPop one is because I prefer this type of a color story, like the grunge. Okay, I'm just gonna hold them on this side. Like the grunge and everything, but I just find this to not be super cohesive. For example, I tried using Destiny and Untamed in one look, and they just look the same on my eye. The shimmers are really nice, I will say, but I just find that this is more of a companion palette than a standalone palette. I still really enjoy it. Like, I enjoy all the palettes that are in my collection. So, number 11 is another ColourPop palette, and it's the That's Taupe palette. So I really only used one shade from here, and that's Python right here. And the reason this is ranking so low is because it's so neutral and it's a 9-pan, so I feel like there's not a lot of variety in it. Like yeah, you can like have different depths, but I think the looks will look very similar. I mean, I do really want to play with this a lot more, but because I have learned that I really like cool tones on myself. So, but yeah, that's why this is ranking at number 11. And I will say this quality does seem a little better than the High School Musical one. So, number 10 is the oldest palette in my collection, which is the Dominique Cosmetics Rustic Glam palette. I mean, the writing is like wearing off on this. And this is what that palette looks like. I got this when it first released, I believe. And I still really enjoy it. I don't use it that often because like it doesn't excite me that much, but I would like to try to use this up. And I don't know, I guess it's ranked kind of low because I find that there's not a lot of variety in here for me. I love warm neutrals though, so I will get a lot of use out of those, but I find the colorful shades just aren't great, especially after trying indie brands. Like, this will, I feel like, forever hold a place in my heart, but it's not one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I just don't find it very versatile. Like, it's very one note. I would do the same look every time I reach for it. So at number 9, okay. I love this palette, okay? Just at number 9 is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Trove Multichrome Quad. Sorry for the reflective packaging, it's gold. And then this is what it looks like on the inside. Let me try to see if I can show you the shifts. Yeah, it's so pretty. They're so special, but it is 4 multi-chromes. I definitely can't create a whole look just using this. This is definitely a companion palette, and I find that these shades, because they're so smooth and creamy, they crease on me, which I don't really mind, because I don't mind taking my makeup with me if I need to touch up or anything. And I do love this. And another thing is it's super expensive, because making multi-chromes costs a lot for an indie brand, especially. Like, it costs a lot in general, really. So I do really enjoy this, but because it's only 4 shades for almost $70 US, I don't know, they're special. I do love them, and I will continue to love using them, but that's just the reason why it's ranking a little lower in this pile. Number 8. This is where it starts getting to palettes that I really do love and enjoy using. Number 8 is my ColourPop and Lizzie McGuire What Dreams Are Made Of palette. And this is what it looks like. It's so cute. I do really like this formula. I will say the shimmers aren't the most spectacular shimmers ever, but I enjoy them. I mean, yeah. So it's a little lower in the list, but I love her. And I'm really hoping to like hit more pans in here and just get a lot of use. Next is number 7, which is my Adept Ninhydrin palette. So this is what it looks like, and I haven't used this like a ton or anything, but I love the shimmers. I love Adept shimmers. There are 2 mattes in here, which is nice, but it doesn't have the variety of mattes that I like to have in a palette to be one cohesive palette. And I will say these mattes need a lot of building up, which I don't love. But these shimmers are gorgeous, and yeah. And I'm not like the biggest fan of purples and pinks. I mean, my look today is pretty purpley pinky, but I think this is so pretty, and I'm so excited to get more use out of this too. I'm excited to get use out of all of my palettes, honestly. But I think the reason this is ranking a little lower is because of the lack of mattes in here. If there were just a couple more, I think it would have been higher, but yeah. Still a really pretty palette. So number 6 is my ABH Soft Glam palette. This is probably my favorite neutral palette. Oh, actually, I did just recently get the Gemini palette, but I love this palette. I don't think I would repurchase this palette I will say the shimmers, they wowed me before, but now I don't know if it's because it's a little older or I just tried better shimmers. They're just not as sparkly or impactful. Like, they're pigmented, but they're just not, they don't have that oomph for me. I mean, I love the mattes. They're so easy to work with. They're pigmented, but they're very blendable. I think I prefer like a powdery shadow instead of a hard pressed one. But yeah, I still love this palette and I will continue to get use out of her. Oh, my top 5. This is, yeah. Okay, so my top 5, these are all palettes I love, okay? It just comes down to color story, formula, and the variability of them. So, number 5 is my Blend Bunny Blends palette. Because out of all of these, I love this formula, okay? The only reason it's ranked at number 5 is because it's an all matte palette. Because I love my shimmers. Like, I feel like every look I do mattes and shimmers. So, but I love the variability of this. I mean, it's a rainbow. If you're looking for like a matte rainbow palette, I highly recommend this one. I love the formula of Blend Bunny. They're so pigmented and blendable. I'm actually using a Blend Bunny palette, which is coming up in this ranking, which I didn't plan, okay? It just happened. What was I saying? Oh yeah, their mattes are pigmented, very blendable, very buildable, because the way I do my eyeshadow is I go light to dark. That's just how I've always done my eyeshadow, and it works so well. And this was my first Blend Bunny palette I ever got, and I love her. So that's my number 5 palette. Number 4. This Beat Out blends because it has shimmers, and that is my Udens Eye Christmas Eve palette. I mean, this packaging is gorgeous, right? I mean, sometimes I buy things because of packaging, but most of the time it's a part of the color story that's inside. Like, but I mean, really pretty packaging is a plus. And sadly, you can't get this palette anymore. This was very limited edition. But this is what it looks like. It's so pretty. I love this color story. It's very like grungy, blues, greens, has like this purple. The shade Gorgeous is literally gorgeous. I mean, blue to purple. There's like green in it, I think. It's just so pretty. I'm not reaching for this color story right now, but it's so pretty. And the only reason this ranked a little lower, not low, but like a little like lower than the other palettes that I have coming up, is because of the formula. So Udens Eye's formula is a little thinner than others. I prefer like a creamy formula, you know, like, but the mattes are still pigmented and very blendable. The shimmers are just a little more sheer than I would like you have to build them up, which is fine. I just prefer like a more pigmented, impactful shimmer, but they are still very sparkly. Like, they're still very pretty. And yeah, I do have a palette from Udens Eye coming in the mail sometime. My top 3. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm like, do I want to switch it up or do I just want to keep it the same? I'm just going to keep it the same and just go from there. So my number 3 palette is my Blend Bunny Cosmetics Lure palette. So this came out with the Trove palette in their Mermaid collection in January. It's so pretty. People are saying this is like a little drier than their normal formula, but I find it still to be very pigmented and blendable and buildable, and that's what I love about Blend Bunny. And these shimmers, although they're not like super unique colors, I just love a sparkly shimmer, okay? No matter what kind of shimmer it is. Pearl is a multi-chrome and it's literally, I don't even think you can see it, but like it's gorgeous. Obviously the greens, the teals, the blues, love them, okay? I need to stop saying that. This palette, when it got released, I was like, I have to get that one. Like, that is a palette that I will own. So the only reason that this isn't higher is because it's not a palette that I would reach for like everyday looks. So, but like even the packaging, like it's glittery, it's textured, it's so good. This is where it hurts my soul. I'm literally about to cry. Oh my god. Okay. My number 2 palette. See, even now I'm like, should this be number 1? But I'm like, no, there's a reason you put your number 1 at your number 1. So my number 2 palette is my Heather Austin palette by Adept. I never thought there would be anything that beats this out, but I guess there is. And if you've been paying attention, you could have guessed what it is after this. This is what it looks like. I love Adept shimmers. I will say, from what I remember, like these 2 shades creased on me. I think Austin did too, like the creamier shades creased on me, which I don't really mind. The mattes are fine. Like these 2 blend nicely, and I think Mythology blends nicely, but I just have trouble blending out Magnolia, which I've mentioned before. And these shimmers are just gorgeous. They're sparkly, they're textured, they're just so good. I think this would pair really well with my number 1 palette, actually. But the only reason this didn't top my number 1 palette is because of the variability in the mattes. Like, yes, you could try like pairing these together, but like there's not a lot of different things you could do with it. Like the only things that would be different are the shimmers that you put on your eye, which can make a very different effect, but that's really what put it at number 2. And that, when I did that, I was in utter shock, because this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. For me to get rid of this, you have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. Yeah, that's how much I love it. So that means my number 1 palette from February is the Blend Bunny All Done Up palette. It's what's on my eyes today, plus an Odin's Eye shimmer, just because, yeah. Oh, also, I did forget to mention, in the Heather Austin palette, another caveat I had is that there isn't really a shade that I enjoy using on my inner corner. So there is that. So it's not like a complete look, but it's really close. So going back to my number 1 palette, the All Done Up palette by Blend Bunny. I love this palette, obviously. So this is what she looks like. I'm currently using this reddish column right here, and the shade Ready is a little more purple than I was expecting, but I really enjoy it. This palette, I just see myself using as like an everyday palette. Again, all of this is personal preference. Very much personal preference. Like you can mix and match, you can just go column by column, which I love how Blend Bunny does that. She makes her palettes so easy to use. And yeah, these shades are just a little more creamy. Like the mattes are a little more creamy than Adept. And these shimmers, I mean, okay, these shimmers are in like super special different shades, except for Shine, which has like, I'll swatch this one for you. It has like a translucent base with like a green shift. It reminds me of their highlighter in Transient, I think it is. But either way, that's really pretty. I do have a couple caveats with this though. So I know you can only do so much with 5 shimmers, right? But I wish there was like some type of like mid-tone to like a little deeper shimmer to blend, I think, Wink into like the darker mattes. That's what I had to do today. I had to bring in a different shimmer, which I don't mind reaching into my collection to bring something in, but if it's something for you that you mind. But just to blend this into a darker shade, because I find it's like pretty light. And then really the only inner corner shade that you have is this silver right here, and I don't always want to use the silver, so I did reach for a different palette for my inner corner highlight. I actually reached for the Dollhouse palette. But anyways, yeah, other than that, I love this palette. I think it's so well thought out. It's more on the muted neutral side without being browns, which I love. Like, I mean, this isn't a color I normally wear, but I honestly kind of enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, am I shocked that this is number 1? Not really. I'm just shocked it beat out my Heather Austin palette, really. Because I've loved that palette since I got it. But again, I just love the variability of this, and the quality is top-notch. If you've been interested in picking this up, I do recommend it. That actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, but those are all 13 palettes that I used in February ranked. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite palette that you used in February was. And let me know if you have any of these palettes and enjoy them, or if you don't enjoy them. I think it's fun to talk about our different makeup preferences. I think that's what I love about makeup. Like, everyone does it so differently and just has different styles. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day, evening, or whatever time it is for you. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.